regardless.
Of course.
You know, to almost pick it as a superpower. What if you always made day 2? What if you always made top 8? Is that good enough? And for Isaiah, it is not. He's a very outspoken player. He's a very hungry player, very well-meaning guy. But you want to lock it in. Even though the players respect you, they know you're good. You've proven yourself time and time again. You need that medal. You need that slag so you can put it on. And this is the player we talked about, Chip. He's not going to take it off. He's going to remind everybody, yes, I got my medal. And as we get into the prizes here, one cross switcher in there, Palkia V, nothing too shady going on. Blissey V in the prize as well.
One shady dealings or Drizzile there in the prizes. But yeah, nothing too terribly bad. The one cross switcher definitely could be annoying. One colorless energy, powerful colorless energy as well for Eric. That's a really important card in this matchup because when you go second as Blissey, if you can find that powerful colorless energy, you can just take a pretty easy KO on Sobble turn 1. So we'll see if Eric is able to find one of the other 3 remaining copies and make that happen, but it will be Isaiah Bradner going first.
Yep, jumping into the game. Isaiah starts off with the Radiant Greninja, and Eric does have the Blissey V in the active spot. So overall, Isaiah with the Capacious Bucket, going to use the concealed cards. Hopefully hit a Battle VIP pass here, get that explosive start that Palkia has, you know, absolutely become known for.
Yeah, would love to find the VIP passes. Just really wants to get Pokemon in play. Isaiah's going to take a moment to check his prize cards. This is something we see him doing a lot. Going to make sure he double checks exactly how much damage Blissey V is doing. It deals 10 base and then 30 more damage for each energy attached to it. So with the powerful colorless energy, it can knock out Sobbles in just one single attachment.
And this is another Pokemon that starts off slow and starts to stack up that damage, really just builds up that momentum, runs away with the game. If Isaiah is too slow to get set up from here, suddenly the Blissey V is getting ready to just one-hit knock out anything you promote into the active, and it just takes away your ability to respond. But Isaiah taking his time, as you can see, taking a very deep look into the prizes, making absolutely sure he knows what is missing and sculpting the matchup around that.
Making sure he knows exactly what is available and what is not. This is honestly a matchup that can be kind of tough for Palkia. It's very winnable. It's definitely close, but it's one that you have to navigate expertly because every single placement of damage matters. Eric's entire strategy revolves around healing, tanking a hit and healing, tanking a hit and healing over and over and over again. We'll see plenty of hyper potions, Sharon's cares, so many ways to pick up a bunch of damage off of these Blissies. So it's going to be a real big game of navigating, okay, where does Isaiah place his damage and when do those healing cards come into effect for Eric Wu?
Yeah, if you can put just enough damage on to where maybe Eric greeds a bit, doesn't go for a hyper potion, leaves the damage on there thinking that, you know, that Pokemon is fine for a turn, try to put together a combination with the Shady Dealings and Teleon and get that KO. But after the Capacious Bucket has been resolved, the prize cards have been sorted out. We're going for a quick ball here to get rid of Path to the Peak. Just keep on digging.
Yeah, this is a card that Isaiah knows is not useful at all in this matchup. Most Blissey players play 4 copies of Path themselves, so you know, it could be nice to throw it and play yourself so that way you leave Eric with a bunch of extra cards that are not very useful. But if it's between discarding Path to the Peak, which you know is not going to help you, and discarding something like an Irida or a Pokemon, it's honestly a pretty easy choice.
Yeah, just get rid of the fodder, play really clean. Isaiah is going to thin through the deck, try to make it as efficient as possible against this list. We have to be so specific with the damage, like you said, Chip, but we have to complete the setup so we can even gain access to that damage. Scoop Up Net going to bring Origin Form Palkia V into the active, resets the concealed cards on the Radiant Greninja. 2 more cards for Isaiah.
Really looking for a
Battle VIP pass.
Would love to get a Sobble down somehow, some way. VIP pass would be ideal, but it doesn't look like he hit one there on that second copy of concealed cards.
Another bucket at the very least. I wonder how far Isaiah wants to go, maybe burning another Scoop Up Net to get another shot at the concealed cards.
This deck is very reliant on Drizzile's Shady Dealings ability. It's one of the most powerful deck engines that we've ever seen in the history of the game. It gives you so much access to any card in your deck, but you can't get it up and running if you don't have any Sobbles in play. And does Isaiah have a way to even get a single Sobble down? No.
Just passes. Back over to Eric Wu now. Going to open this game up, has the Blissey V in the active. Just needs an energy attachment for Blissful Blast to start getting this up and running. We see the quick ball, get some energy discarded into the discard so Blissey can reattach those. Overall, I like the position here. Eric can absolutely run away with this game now, especially with Isaiah not getting any Sobbles down. That means there's no threat of Drizzile to get the pieces to properly respond to what Eric Wu is going to put down this turn.
So Eric eyes up the Radiant Greninja. If he's got energies in his hand, it's a great way to put those in the discard pile so you can start to power up for big Blissful Blasts later on. And it is one of the only ways that this deck really can draw cards outside of the draw supporters that it plays. You know, many decks will have things like Inteleon or Bibarel or Crobat. Eric Wu's deck has none of those things. It is wholly reliant on this Radiant Greninja.
Yep, going to discard Lucky Energy, draw 2 cards, get a Cape of Toughness, even more HP to take through. And what's great about this setup as well, right? Eric can just have the Bliss EV in the active, maybe another one on the bench or a Miltank or something, and Radiant Greninja, very low bench, really hurts the subspace swell as a way to take these big knockouts or even try to threaten the 2-turn knockouts that force Eric to go for Hyper Potion or anything in the first place. Gets the powerful colorless energy and the cape now onto the Blissey.
His supporter for turn was the Avery, though, which is not the ideal time to play it. Usually in this matchup, you want to be discarding a bunch of Pokemon from your opponent's side of the field because Palkia's damage output is directly dependent on how many Pokemon they have in play. So honestly, kind of unfortunate for Eric that that was the only supporter card he had available.
And this is the reason that a lot of these Palkia decks, you know, started splashing into things like Ice Rider, things like Kyurem now, to just take away your opponent's ability to limit their bench, to limit your damage. Just have a consistent backup attacker. But Isaiah, again, is a big believer in the Palkia here and is going to try to power up this subspace swell on his own.
Are we just going to see 120 damage come out? I think so. That's has to be one of the weakest subspace swells we've ever seen. Really just not much happening for Isaiah. Does finally get a Sobble down at least, though.
Yep, and activates that Lucky Energy. Eric, we're going to draw another card on top of that. Now with the double Turbo Energy, and pays for it with the Hyper Potion. Beautiful combination.
Exactly what Eric wants to make happen. Use Blissful Blast, get those energies attached, and then discard them with the Hyper Potions in order to heal. So just totally erasing everything Isaiah did. And really smart play from Eric Wu. He could start putting more pressure and more damage onto this Palkia, but he recognizes how important the Drizziles and Inteleons are to Isaiah's strategy. So if he can use Boss's Orders and just take out Sobble super quickly before Isaiah's able to get much of a board established, it's going to be very strong. So that's exactly what he does and takes a prize.
Yeah, Palkia, a lot of players agree, is one of the strongest decks in the format. And if you can play something to counter that, maybe the numbers fall in your way to find that matchup repeatedly. Eric Wu, you know, 4-0, obviously has been working out for him. And Isaiah has nothing to work with now because that Sobble went down, just has to go for the subspace swell once again, and it's even weaker this time around.
Yes, only 100 damage now, and we see just more and more energies being drawn for Eric. That Lucky Energy being one of the main draw powers of this deck. Radiant Greninja, of course, being shut off by that Path to the Peak. Eric now is relying on the Lucky Energy to see any additional cards this turn. He's still really yet to get very set up. We haven't seen a Research or Marnie or anything like that. No way to draw a bunch more cards. So it's just going to be attach, swing, and looks like it's working out for Eric so far.
Yeah, I think when you're in a position like this, maybe you simply don't care about getting any further setup. Maybe this is all you want. Streamline the game plan as much as you can and play it more like a Duraludon. Like,
yeah,
I have my one big attacker that has massive HP in play, and all I need to do is make sure I'm swinging in on my opponent every single turn, getting these knockouts. I mean, the Origin Form Palkia already has a little bit of damage on it, and with Blissful Blast, you know, this is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, Chip. Already 2 powerful colorless energy on the Blissey as well to boost that damage further.
And to add insult to injury here as well, Eric Wu uses Quick Ball and finds the Tornadus. Is going to send this Palkia to the bench and force up the Radiant Greninja, and that would still take a prize, even though there's only 3 energy attached. Those powerful colorless energies do add 20 damage each. So Eric is hitting for 140 now, which would be enough to knock out Greninja. Let's see if he goes for the Tornadus, or is he just going to swing with the active? Looks like it will just be a swing into the Palkia. Hold on to the Tornadus for later.
Yeah, with the Path to the Peak in play after a Marnie like that, I think that Isaiah might just be locked out. And when the Palkia goes down, the Radiant Greninja is going to be just stranded as well. There's no there's no V-Star to power it up with the Star Portal ability. Has to go for the cross switcher here to save the Palkia, just to put the Radiant Greninja up, keep this attacker alive.
Yeah, this is desperation mode for Isaiah at this point. He is not feeling great about how this game has gone. He is really just trying to buy time here at this point, hope that he can maybe get something established, and still, you know, playing this Evolution Incense, it gets a Drizzile, but there's no Sobbles available just yet, and now Isaiah just has to pass over to Eric, who top decks an energy card, already had the powerful colorless, so plenty of ways to get this Greninja out of the active now.
The Blissey and all the energies take up the whole bench here.
Yeah, no room for any more benched Pokemon.
So double turbo now onto the Radiant Greninja. This can pay for the retreat cost if you want.
And Tornadus will come down. That sudden Cyclone ability will send the Radiant Greninja to the bench for Isaiah. And since Isaiah only has that Palkia V-Star in play, he's forced to send it up, and Eric Wu will take 2 prizes and add another energy card to this Blissey.
So now we've got Radiant Greninja, nothing in the bench for Isaiah Bradner, just going to scoop this first game. He had a couple shots of getting a Sobble or the Battle VIP Pass that turn 1, even used Scoop Up Net on the Greninja to use that concealed cards twice, and just couldn't get set up at all. We saw that by taking advantage of that early brick, Eric was able to just immediately get the Blissey down and just start swinging.
Yeah, that was definitely a story of Isaiah not getting set up fast enough. If he wants to win this matchup, it really comes big time with the early game pressure, attacking as quickly as possible and hoping that Eric is unable to find those hyper potions, the double turbos, getting that combo of cards together in order to heal off all the damage that Isaiah is putting out. Because Blissey is going to play the game with a pretty low bench size, so Isaiah's damage output is going to be very limited in that aspect.
And that was just Blissey, Radiant Greninja doing the bare minimum and taking the win there. There was no Miltank part of that, no shenanigans walling.
Hey,
the
listen,
2 early hyper potions did really help, I will say.
Tornadus helped out a little bit too.
Tornadus.
We can't forget about Tornadus coming in.
Good old Tornadus.
Had to aid a little bit there at the end. But that, I mean, if you're Eric Wu, you are feeling great about that game. 4-0-1 with the Blissey, and you get a Game 1 win here on the stream in round number 6. Definitely a pretty nice place to be sitting.
Yep, and plenty of time left on the clock. I can definitely see this match going way longer once there's more Sobbles in play, more shady dealings happening on Isaiah's side. It's going to extend the match massively. Isaiah now already knows that. Is going to be playing very quickly here in Game 2 to take the win and force Game 3. 2 Battle VIP Pass in the prizes for Isaiah Bradner out of 4.
Yeah, and double Irida and that Radiant Greninja.
Oh my goodness, you can pick worse prizes, Chip.
Yeah, not the best over on Isaiah's end. Having the 2 VIP Pass prized just means that he's less likely to start with one, but what do you know? Isaiah is able to find one, making up for missing one last game, I guess.
Yeah, we get the Battle VIP V-Pass down, start drawing into the other ones later in the game, and just use them as discard fodder.
So now this can grab any 2 basic Pokemon out. We've got a Sobble in the active, so that's already a little bit better of a start for Isaiah.
Isaiah's like, oh, the Radiant Greninja's in the prizes. He's seeing it now.
Yeah, that is definitely a big deal because that's one of the main ways that you can draw cards with this deck. He has the one Hisui and Heavy Ball, but can't search it out with an Irida or a Shady Dealings on turn 1. He's got to wait until next turn to try to get that.
Yeah, at the very least, we can get a couple Sobbles set up. Eric Wu's already demonstrated his propensity for chasing those down, cutting off that value, getting that utility and card search off of the table for Isaiah. So I love just the setup here of the second Sobble and a Palkia V. This obviously signals to Eric that the Radiant Greninja most likely is in the prizes if you just don't get it immediately here with the Battle VIP Pass. We do have the turn 1 energy attachment as well for the Palkia as soon as we get the rest of this turn sorted out. Nice quick ball coming through. Going to find another Sobble.
Yeah, could grab another Palkia as well. He might think about that decision. Something you can do if you go with the 2 copies of Palkia is you can go for a turn 2 Hydro Break.
Okay.
Does 200 damage for 3 energy. So if you have 2 Palkias in play, you can use Star Portal to V-Star power onto the other one. And with the combination of Zigzagoon, Scoop Up Net's Choice Belt, you can actually knock out a Blissey. It's something we've seen happen before, usually against Arceus decks. It's a little hard to do against the Blisseys, but this is something Isaiah wants to at least leave the door open for, I think.
And as a player who's played so much of this specific deck, this build, you know that he already has that within his repertoire. Crobat V comes through, another new tech. Just having that extra draw power is always nice in this current metagame. Lots of Roxanne running around, trying to draw into really bad clunky starts, getting that dark asset ability through.
Isaiah has Path to the Peak in hand. He could put it down and it would cut Eric Wu off of using the Radiant Greninja, and he will choose to do that. But what this will do is it now forces Isaiah to play his other stadium card, his Training Court, if he wants to get this path out of play to use Star Portal on the next turn.
Overall, just trying to adopt a more disruptive game plan here. Slow Eric Wu down. Building the foundation is a little bit more present here with the 2 Sobble, the 2 Origin form Palkia V, but with no Radiant Greninja, your ability to continue finding those cards and resources is very dependent on Drizzile from this position. Eric Wu starting off with the Trekking Shoes, finds the Cape of Toughness, finds the powerful Colorless Energy.
And has the Avery in hand as well. This can draw 3 cards, though it will be a pretty easy choice for Isaiah to just discard that Crobat, which is exactly what he does. It's a liability that can't really do much for you at this point, so get it out of here.
Yeah, this is the second time we've seen the Avery come through after the opponent has used one of their utility Pokemon V, like the Lumineon and stuff. Just deny your opponent a chance to chase those down for easy prizes, especially in the late game.
Eric does take a KO on the Sobble. That's part of what makes Blissey so scary to play against when you are playing an Inteleon deck, is just how easy it is for them to take 60 damage KOs on turn 1 going second. So Isaiah will just send up this Palkia and is going to try to piece together some damage this turn.
Has the Drizzile. This is step number 1 at putting this all through.
If he fills his bench up, he can do 160 damage. Eric Wu has 0 Pokemon on the bench right now. No damage feeding for the Subspace Swell. So it's going to be up to Isaiah to determine how much damage he wants to do here. And I think you want to just at least try to hit for more than 120, because if you're only doing 120, you're just opening yourself up to the Hyper Potion denying all of that damage.
And that's exactly what we saw in Game 1, Chip. It was very heartbreaking for just the 120 to come through, then 100 to come through. Both got eaten up by that Hyper Potion. Irida found off of the Drizzile now.
This can grab a basic water Pokemon, most likely. It could get the V-Star, though I think Isaiah maybe has the Evolution Incense in hand, so Sobble will be the choice. Capacious Bucket, the item card, getting 2 waters out of the deck, so we can at least see a Subspace Swell for some damage this turn. But how far will Isaiah be able to push the damage output?
And I like that Isaiah is committed to keeping this path in play, isn't trying to go for the Training Core into the Heavy Ball to get the Radiant Greninja. Feels that with the 2 Palkia V in play, there's going to be enough strength here, hopefully, with the Hydro Break.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah's strategy, like I said, between games is it really just has to be hit hard and hope that your opponent does not have the necessary healing to counteract it. Just be as aggressive as you can and hope that it slows, that they're just not quick enough in order to be able to keep up. Like we said, this Blissey deck does not have very consistent draw. There's no lucky energy attached to it right now.
Also fortunate.
So there's not going to be extra cards seen from Eric Wu.
And it's going to be a complete flipping of the script here, hopefully, for Isaiah Bradner, where Eric Wu is the one that is struggling to find the right resources and keep up with the game. There is the Subspace Swell coming through, 120 damage.
Just 120, though. Let's see if Eric has the response with the Hyper Potion. I actually don't see it here in the hand. So this is exactly what Isaiah wants to see, an opportunity to try to get a 2-prize knockout.
Trekking Shoes. Eric Wu's going to go on a walk and try to find that energy. Switch
walks
cart.
right into the cart, which is another way to get a little bit of healing. So decides to keep it as opposed to ditching it with the Trekking Shoes. Which makes sense. There is another Blissey in the hand as well as another energy card. So we could just see him switch between a couple of Blissies.
There was a really big glut of energy in that first game as well. A lot of stuff drawn to the hand, a lot of easy free discards for the Blissful Blast to reattach.
Look at you with your SAT words, man.
Like, and we'll see if Eric is going to be rewarded for splitting this energy between the 2 attackers.
Ooh, Eric is eyeing up the boss's orders. He does not like Sobble. Bring that up here.
No,
he wants to take it out
again.
And this is exactly why Isaiah used Scoop Up Net last turn. If he only had left the Drizzile in play, theoretically Eric could have attached another powerful colorless energy, used Boss, take out that Drizzile, and Isaiah wouldn't have access to any draw power since I think all he had was the Shady Dealings and Tellian in hand. So he used the Scoop Up Net so he could guarantee, okay, you can KO one of my Sobbles, but you can't KO both. So if you take one of them out, I'll at least have access to another Shady Dealings.
This is night and day from what we normally see out of the Intellian engine as well, where so many Drizziles, Scoop Up Nets, Shady Dealings working in tandem to get so many cards into the player's hands. And this one, each Sobble is a huge liability. They're just hanging on by a thread, trying to get just a crumb of value before they go down. Because Eric Wu knows I can use my early attacks to knock out Sobbles, and then the Blissful Blast will scale up that damage to finally meet against the Origin Form Palkia V-Star.
So Isaiah can get the KO this turn. He has to fill his bench up, and then thanks to Eric having the Blissey V in play, that would be 180 damage, and there's 120 damage on the Blissey, and that adds up to, of course, the 300 HP that Blissey has right now thanks to that Cape of Toughness. So if Isaiah can find 3 more basic Pokemon to put down, or maybe 2 basic Pokemon and a Choice Belt, or 2 basic Pokemon with one of them being Zigzagoon used twice through Scoop Up Net, there's a few ways he can do it, but if he can get to that 6 benched Pokemon here, he would be able to get a 2-prize KO.
Now, I wonder if Irida, finds the Palkia. I was wondering if this is the turn where Isaiah's going to, break glass in case of emergency, right? Get that Path to the Peak out of play, maybe get the Heavy Ball to get the Radiant Greninja to, if you're going to commit to filling up the bench, you might as well put your All-Stars down. Finds the level ball, though. Going to look for a Drizzile, looks like.
That's actually the Manaphy getting
Manaphy
grabbed and has the Palkia.
So nice shortcut there.
Yep. Using the Irida to get the Palkia plus the level ball, and now has Quick Ball in hand as well, so he can get the necessary basic Pokemon down. Discarding Cross Switcher, which is normally such a valuable card, but in this matchup, it's really not great. You're just trying to get through a big active Blissey. You don't really care about getting any gusting cards, and if you you don't really care about getting any gusting cards. But even if you do, you still have 2 more Cross Switchers left and the boss's orders to still work with. Isaiah grabbing the Roxanne. He can't quite use it just yet. He did play the Irida, and Eric is at 4 prize cards, but setting up for the future turns. Definitely smart.
And the Zigzagoon was found, like you said, Chip, off of that Quick Ball.
Gonna ping the benched one, though, since there is enough damage being laid on to the active here. And Subspace Swell will deal enough to take the KO. Isaiah taking his first 2 prizes.
And those
of
are
this
both
match.
Battle VIP passes. So I'll have a little bit more of an easy discard if there's like an Ultra Ball or something in the hand to get that Palkia V-Star.
Eric has the Avery in hand as well. If he discards these Pokemon from Isaiah's side, it is going to be so hard for him to put out any reasonable damage this game. Isaiah, I don't think is playing any Ordinary Rod or anything like that, so.
Rough decision here. I'm wondering if you are going to keep the Zigzagoon instead.
Yeah, it's either the Zigzagoon or the Palkia V without an energy on it. That's what Isaiah's deciding between right now, and it looks like he wants to keep the Goon around for a little bit of extra damage potentially.
Yeah, so we can use the Scoop Up Net, as you said, Chip, get that extra little bit of damage on the Blissey V, makes up for the fact you might be running low on basic Pokemon from this point.
Yeah, Isaiah may just be hoping to pull off the Hydro Break play, honestly. I think that's going to be one of his best lines. If Eric can't find a Cape of Toughness, that would be a reasonable route for Isaiah to get a KO. But Eric is finding another Pokemon to put down, and it looks like it might be Miltank time.
Miltank, the next wall, the side boss taking over for Blissey. We don't have the Inteleon now as a non-V Pokemon in order to swing into this with that Miracle Body ability.
And this is why, even though this deck from Isaiah plays an answer to the Miltank, it's not as simple as that, and you're able to deal with it. You have to, in addition to playing the answer, you have to be able to find the pieces at the right time and in the right order. And if Eric can, go after this Drizzile on the next turn and then go into the Miltank, it's going to be really hard for Isaiah to ever get through it.
And it looks like it's just going to be exactly that. Blissful Blast.
100 damage.
And we're getting the Lucky Energy down too, so Eric Wu going to enjoy a little bit more card draw if Isaiah wants to put some more chip damage onto this Blissey V. No Cape of Toughness on it. Perhaps the Subspace Swell can do some work here. This is a massive window of opportunity now for Isaiah Bradner.
Yeah, could with the I think it's going to have to be the Hydro Break, to be honest, with the Choice Belt attached. I think that's really his only way to get the knockout. He's going to have to retreat and bump the stadium with the training court. So he can definitely do it, but then you're using your subspace, your V-Star power, your Star Portal, in order to accelerate energies to Palkia, and you need to start thinking about this Miltank on the bench, so you want to get an energy on the Inteleon this turn as well.
Yeah, and with the Shady Dealings now, there's 2 cards available for Isaiah. I think that he's completely just foregone the Radiant Greninja line, is eyeballing a Melanie here, is going to rely on the Pokemon that are in play and are established. Also finds a Scoop Up Net, eyeballing it here to recycle the Zigzagoon.
Has the training court as well, so I think
this is the fork in the road, Chip.
Yeah, I think this is the turn where he maybe is going to want to go in with the Star Portal, but he's now bringing different cards to the front. You can see there's just so many options with this deck at any given time. It's really tough to know what's correct.
Yeah, so Marnie is selected here, so this isn't going to be a training court heavy ball sort of line. Marnie, Scoop Up Net, going to try to disrupt this hand, going to recycle this Zigzagoon.
Actually going to be that Inteleon wants to make sure that he has access to the Shady Dealings.
Okay, so no attach this turn, not going to set up for Aqua Bullet next run.
And we will see the Marnie is going to be played. Isaiah has to shuffle the deck first, of course,
true.
Then he can shuffle the hand, and both players will put their hands on the bottom of the deck. Isaiah will get 5 cards. Eric now getting 4.
Yeah, good catch there to shuffle the deck first before that hand goes down. And now over on Miltank's side.
Yeah, Isaiah here only going to be dealing 140 damage into this Blissey, so I think he's just hoping to stick Eric with kind of an unfortunate hand. That hand size had gotten pretty big, so he's hoping that he can slow him down just a little bit. The Lucky Energy, of course, will add 1 more card to the hand. Yeah,
Eric Wu does have a Cape of Toughness now in the hand. No Hyper Potions have come through yet, so the fact that this damage is sticking is so fortunate for Isaiah to even have this opportunity presented.
Yeah, and Eric needs to draw 1 more card, draw for the Lucky Energy, and now draws for a turn. Isaiah catching that, and now with the Quick Ball in hand, that's a way to maybe start getting another Blissey going if you wanted to do that, because I don't think Eric has any great healing options as of now. There's no Hyper Potion, and I actually don't even see a supporter card here in Eric's hand.
So it looks like the Marnie path is working its magic. Double Cape of Toughness now. Quick Ball to discard another Quick Ball. And Eric is just going to keep searching through now.
If nothing else, this can at least shuffle the deck, because there was a bunch of supporters on the bottom from the Marnie. Looks like he will just thin that Dunsparce, yeah.
Yeah, just picked up, added to the hand. We don't need it for this particular matchup. All it does is just take off the fighting weakness from your colorless Pokemon.
Just getting it out of the deck. He doesn't want to draw into it, so let's add it to the hand. Can't get anything else useful, so here it is.
And with Eric once more not having that Radiant Greninja down for extra card draw.
Oh, he does have the research. Okay, I didn't see that there hiding in the hand. That is a huge hit off of the Marnie. Does he find a Hyper Potion to heal so much of this damage? He does.
Okay, the Hyper Potion is found, and there's plenty of energy to pay for that cost attached to the Blissey right now, taking away 120 damage now. Offsetting so much of the work Isaiah Bradner had to put in on that last turn. And you can see the benches on both sides are so limited. Isaiah had to fight through 2 Averys, and it's so difficult to fill up for the subspace swell. And more, Isaiah is being backed into the Hydro Break option.
And looks like the Blissful Blast is enough to take the KO. So much extra math needing to be done. 30 damage for each energy, but the double turbo reduces the powerful colorless energy adds. I do believe it was exactly 180 though, so that is exactly what Eric needed in order to pick up this knockout. And Isaiah with just 2 Pokemon on the bench. Subspace Swell is going to be doing next to nothing.
Yeah, we don't have enough damage stuck to this Blissey right now to get the knockout this turn. Eric Wu, with 2 prizes remaining, just has to knock out this Origin Form Palkia V. Yeah, there's 1 more attachment there.
I was looking to see maybe if Isaiah had a Lost Vacuum or a Tool Scrapper in the deck, but it doesn't look like he does. I don't notice it here in the list, so that would be a way that he could maybe pick up the knockout with the Hydro Break, a Choice Belt plus the Tool Removal card. But for now, it'll just be 200 damage swung into this Blissey. I don't even think Isaiah found the Drizzile to start getting Inteleon set up. This is really looking bad for Isaiah.
Yeah, historically, this Palkia list has had a few flex slots in order to account for matchups like this. You hate to see, to run those matchups when you don't have the cards, but he has the Drizzile at the very least now to use that Shady Dealings to find one more card, try to get something up and running, gets the Roxanne back finally. A little bit more disruption against Eric Wu.
Has to wait till next turn to play it, though. He's
already
already committed
used
the Melanie now. Was never able to get off the Star Portal V-Star power. And he actually will evolve the active Palkia now and throw the Choice Belt on there as well. He's only going to be dealing 150 damage with this Palkia V-Star, but he needed to evolve this because he's just got to hope that he can withstand the hit. I think if he hadn't evolved, that Palkia V would have gone down to a Blissful Blast.
Yeah, so after the evolution, no access to Hydro Break here. Isaiah's just trying to do the math, make sure that is there anything else I can do to boost this damage or up my odds? There was a long time in the early game where I was speculating about maybe trying to just get the heavy ball to get the Greninja out of the prize cards to have another thing to put on the bench. But at this point, Isaiah just has to pray. Keep your fingers crossed. Yep. Can Eric Wu take this final knockout? So now here's one draw and the Lucky Energy caught once again. And Eric Wu knows the Roxanne is coming. He's going to try to put in as much work as possible this turn. Has an attachment from hand to boost this Blissful Blast even further.
And he's got Sharon's Care as well. If he wants it, he could pick up this Blissey and all the damage and all the energy on it. Though I think that would be very risky to do. They're then going in with the Miltank, and Isaiah's already got the energy on the Drizzile. He's already threatening that Inteleon next turn, and you wouldn't be dealing any relevant damage really to Palkia, since Miltank's damage output is based on how many Pokemon your opponent has on the bench with its route attack.
But has the Hyper Potion, so this is just a beautiful hedge, right? You don't have to take a big risk of committing the Miltank.
Oh, and the Switch Cart here could be really nice too. That would be healing 30 more damage from the Blissey, right?
Yeah, and then you can go attach Manual Retreat on the Blissey, on the Miltank to bring the Blissey back up.
Yep.
Just to completely take away any options that Isaiah might have, especially when it comes to like the way the damage seems to swing up and down wildly in this matchup. But actually puts down another Blissey V.
It could either retreat this active Blissey or go with that Switch Cart this turn like we mentioned. I wonder if that is going to be his path here. Does he want to go into something else? This does add a little bit of damage, but really not in worry of, not doing enough to knock out that Palkia. Isaiah sending it to the discard pile. Yeah, not quite enough to get the KO here. We're going to be, I think, hitting for like 180, something like that. The double turbo and the powerful colorless cancel out, so
yeah,
it should
like
be
150, and then plus the
powerful colorless and the 10 base. So,
okay,
yeah,
got it.
180 exactly is the hit. Not enough for the KO, but now Isaiah with a heavily damaged Palkia. Eric Wu with just 2 prize cards remaining and a Miltank remaining a threat on the bench. What is Isaiah's path back into this game?
Yeah,
it
with
is
the
not
Hyper
looking
Potions
good.
used up now, we can't get our damage to stick. There's 2 more still left for Eric Wu, but this point has come through that there's just been so much healing to offset this damage. Echoing Horn coming through for Isaiah, going to pull Blissey V back from the discard pile, and the Cross Switcher comes through to bring that up into the active.
And hoping maybe to just buy a little bit of time here, potentially using the Cross Switchers plus the Roxanne, limiting Eric to just 2 cards. This is Isaiah's play to get back in this game. Bring up the Blissey, and then off of this Roxanne, find the Inteleon and the energy, start laying down some damage, ping the bench a little bit, and then try to get reestablished and get yourself into a potentially winning position.
And this is all predicated on Eric Wu not finding the out, finding a way to hunt down this origin form Palkia V-Star on the bench. We know that there is Tornadus in this deck to get that switch, and the Switch Cart might come back into Eric Wu's hand. 2 cards off the top. 1 more draw at the start of the turn.
Yep,
is Roxanne real?
That is the big question that Isaiah is hoping for at this point. Does find the Evolution Instance, I think, on the last card there. He's used a bunch of Capacious Buckets, though. Does he still have one available? Looks like he does, so he will be able to get an energy that way.
Beautiful. Shady Dealings Inteleon finding the Capacious Bucket. And what is the other card you want to get at this point? Hisui and Heavy Ball? Training Court?
Yeah, I think the risk of putting
Scoop.
training court, the risk of putting training court out is that now you turn on your opponent's ability to utilize their Radiant Greninja, and when
True.
you're trying to stick your opponent with a bad hand off of Roxanne, you really want to limit all of those outs as much as possible. So Isaiah's going to forego that option. Does attach to the active Inteleon, and Aqua Bullet deals 120 damage and will add 20 damage to a benched Pokemon as well.
Really great setup. We saw how far ahead Isaiah was planning this moment of getting the attachment onto the Drizzile, trying to make it so awkward for the opponent. And now we've got Path to the Peak only, no Radiant Greninja, Inteleon in the active now.
Isaiah just checking out Lucky Energy. I do believe it only activates whenever it gets hit while it is in the active spot. So that's just what he's checking out here. He is free to hit that benched Blissey and not add extra damage, or extra cards. Extra cards.
But we've got, now it comes down to the calculations, right? Big Charm, the math has been so specific for this game, and I don't even want to look at that Blissey V chip. I don't want to calculate anything. I just got to trust that the players and the judges know how much that's going to deal. But here we go. Now, also putting, this is another big decision for Isaiah, puts the 2 damage counters onto the other Blissey V.
And what does Eric Wu have? Does have a couple energies, so he will at least be able to attack with the Blissey this turn, can deal some damage. He also did find Cape of Toughness to boost the HP a little bit more if he wants to.
And normally when you want to strand a Pokemon like this, it is something that isn't very threatening, right? It's usually a utility Pokemon, something with a high retreat cost that your opponent is going to be very awkwardly trying to move around.
Right.
But this next Blissey, right, is just going to get the Cape of Toughness, the powerful energy, and with anything else in the discard pile, can maybe start attaching a couple energies to itself and become another threat, just like this big one on the bench.
Yeah, this is the fact that Eric got an energy makes this so hard for Isaiah. He can scoop up net and swing with the Palkia, but if he does that, then Eric's dealing 60, which would be enough to, not quite enough to get there, but if he finds another energy card, so it's just going to be the Aqua Bullet once again. 120 more to the active, 20 more to that bench. And I think that's a Marnie. That's a huge draw from the top.
Oh my goodness, Eric Wu finds the Marnie, going to get out of this situation, get some final cards, maybe a Hyper Potion to offset Isaiah's desperation play, double turbo energy into the Marnie now.
And Eric has no cards in hand, but Isaiah still does have cards available, so Marnie will activate. Eric just getting 5 cards.
Trekking Shoes also picked up from the top now. Zinnia's Resolve, not really going to do much from this position, of course.
Honestly, really smart math from Isaiah to attach the Big Charm to this Inteleon, because otherwise, this Blissey's hitting for 100 damage this turn. It would be able to knock out the Inteleon. That is unless Eric uses the Hyper Potion anyway, which he is debating doing at this spot.
Yeah, just goes for the healing. Yeah. It's just the bare bones play. You don't have to think too much about trying to outplay. You know you're already in a strong position. It's just about cutting off these avenues for Isaiah to even think about coming back into this game. Reattach on the double turbo energy after the Blissful Blast. We're back over to
60
Isaiah.
More damage to that Inteleon as well. Isaiah off of the Marnie. Does he have something to work with? We know he sent a scoop up net to the bottom. Looks like Evolution Incense can at least thin something out of the deck. There's no Pokemon available to evolve.
Yeah, at least we get the shuffle, get those cards back up in, finds a Drizzile too. And Isaiah's putting up a valiant effort, I have to say, Chip, right? Just finding a line here where it is possible to get a win. You just have to hope that the cards are going your way. He's committed to, I think, this particular strategy since the beginning of the game, I want to say. And it's starting to pay off here as things wind down in this second game. 12 minutes left on the clock for the round. Finally, Heavy Ball comes through.
We will see that Radiant Greninja be the grab. Heavy Ball goes back into the deck. Isaiah just sadly staring at the 2 Irida in the prize cards, unable to utilize those key resources.
And now that Eric has used the Marnie, is kind of drawn his way out of the Roxanne, this is where maybe you're also fine with Eric getting that Radiant Greninja as long as you need it too.
Yeah, we'll see if that training court does come down or not. Does he have it in the hand?
Yeah, it might just be a bench to power up a subspace swell, retreat this Inteleon. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, the hand looks pretty weak. It looks like a couple VIP pass, the V-Star, the Radiant Greninja, so Aqua Bullet comes through once again, putting more damage onto the Blissey on the bench.
And actually decides to put
okay.
those other 2 damage counters onto the big Blissey from earlier. 80 damage stuck to it now. Eric Wu with the draw. That's 3 out of 4 Hyper Potions used so far, Chip.
Yeah, there's not many options left for the healing, but this is kind of, Eric has kind of accomplished what he wanted to at this point. He's used the Hyper Potions to buy enough time, and he's made a couple of Blisseys that are just going to be so hard for Isaiah to KO. Even though he can KO this active one, the other 2 on the bench still have so much HP remaining, and that one in the middle has so many energy cards. There's really nothing Isaiah can send up that's going to withstand a hit.
Yeah, Eric just throws another Capture Energy down on the pile. Fails it here.
And he does have a Marnie as well. Back-to-back turns of the Marnie. Isaiah may be wishing, maybe I should have just gone ahead and put that Radiant Greninja down. Now it's just stuck back in the deck.
With that, however, those useless battle VIP passes are at the bottom, so maybe it's not too terrible. There was a Drizzile as well in Isaiah's hand, if I'm not mistaken. And there is the knockout as well for Eric Wu, down to 1 prize card remaining. There's just a Zigzagoon that can't stand up to Blissey, and now this heavily damaged Palkia V-Star. And there's several attackers willing to jump into the active to take down this wounded warrior.
Yeah, Isaiah can take the knockout and at least go down swinging, but that Blissey on the bench with 7 energies on it is just waiting to blast for a bunch. Though Boss's orders could bring the active up, maybe this is just a desperation play from Isaiah. Bring up the Blissey and pass, not even taking the knockout, or at least you can swing for some damage, just not enough to knock it out. Try to set something up.
Yeah, don't be fooled, people. The Eric Wu's bench looks a lot fuller than it actually is.
Right, yes.
The subspace while not doing too much. Yeah, and has the switch card to bring up the main Blissey attacker. And that is going to be Eric Wu with a 2-0 against Isaiah Bradner, moving on through Swiss round 6.
And Blissey able to take down the titan of the format that is Origin form, Palkia V-Star. Congratulations to Eric. Isaiah does take a loss here, but he is far from eliminated, sitting at 5-1 now after this match. So still plenty of time to try to fight back and make it into day 2 of the competition.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an example, I think, of a sort of bluff and call for the metagame. Blissey had done really well at the other regional, and people thought, okay, well, players will just start targeting it, start taking their decks out for it, and then it'll get bullied and it won't do as well. And we see it still hanging in strong.
Yep.
Eric Wu called the metagame's bluff and said, I'm going to run it back again.
Yeah, Blissey is just one of those decks that is pretty decent. Of course, Connor Lavelle got 2nd place at Milwaukee Regionals last season with it, and ever since then, it's just kind of been on people's radars. It's floated around. It's made day 2 at tournaments, but it hasn't really had another deep run. With this new set coming out, though, some people thought, hey, let's give it another chance. The meta's changed up, a little bit less Mew. Maybe we do okay against this Giratina deck. So